I never believed in fate until the night I fell from the Ashford Bridge. One moment I was walking home through the rain, my mind churning with the usual worries about rent and work, and the hollow echo of my failed relationships. And the next, I was slipping on wet stone, my hands grasping at nothing but cold air and darkness. The river below was a black mouth waiting to swallow me whole. I remember the sensation of falling, that stomach-lurching freefall, where time stretches and compresses all at once, where your life doesn't flash before your eyes so much as your future dies in real time. I remember thinking, this is it. This is how it ends. Alone and stupid and unmissed. Then something caught me. Not something soft or gentle, but something hard as iron and cold as winter stone. Claws wrapped around my torso, digging through my jacket. And suddenly, I wasn't falling anymore, but rising fast through sheets of rain that felt like needles against my face. I tried to scream, but the wind stole my voice. I tried to understand, but my mind couldn't process what was happening. Wings, massive wings beating against the storm, leathery and vast, and beneath me, the river grew small, and the city lights blurred into a constellation of gold and white. I was being carried by something impossible, something that shouldn't exist, and all I could do was hang limp in its grip and pray it wouldn't drop me. We flew for what felt like hours, but might have been minutes. The rain gave way to mist, the mist to clouds, and then we were above it all in a sky filled with stars so bright they hurt to look at. My rescuer never spoke, never even acknowledged I was conscious, just kept flying with a steady rhythm that made my ribs ache where its claws held me. I caught glimpses of it in the moonlight, stone-gray skin that looked carved rather than grown, muscular limbs that seemed too heavy to fly yet moved with terrible grace, and wings that stretched wide enough to block out constellations. When we finally descended, I saw our destination rising from a mountain peak like a crown of thorns. A castle, but not the romantic fairy tale kind. This was something older, something built before beauty mattered. All sharp angles and brutal towers and walls that looked designed to keep gods imprisoned. The stone was black as coal and seemed to drink in moonlight rather than reflect it. Gargoyles lined every surface, hundreds of them, thousands maybe, their faces frozen in expressions of rage and agony and hunger. We landed on a balcony high enough that clouds drifted past like ghosts. The creature released me, and I collapsed onto cold stone, gasping, my legs refusing to support my weight. I rolled onto my back and finally saw my rescuer clearly. She stood 7 feet tall if she was an inch, her body a fusion of woman and monster that made my brain struggle to categorize her. Her torso and limbs were humanoid, but covered in that same stone-gray skin, smooth as marble in some places, rough as granite in others. Her hands ended in black claws that gleamed like obsidian. Wings folded against her back, complex structures of bone and membrane that seemed to shift and settle even at rest. Her face was beautiful in the way a storm is beautiful, all sharp cheekbones and full lips, and eyes that glowed with inner fire, literal fire, orange and gold like embers. Horns curved back from her temples, smooth and black, and her hair was white as fresh snow, long and wild and moving as if touched by wind I couldn't feel. She wore something between armor and clothing, dark leather that left her arms and shoulders bare, exposing patterns carved into her stone skin, symbols and runes that seemed to pulse with faint light. I should have been terrified. I was terrified, but I was also mesmerized. She looked down at me with those burning eyes and spoke in a voice like grinding stone and honey. "You fell," she said, as if this explained everything. "You were dying." I tried to speak, but my throat was closed with shock and cold. She moved closer, her footsteps silent despite her size and weight, and crouched beside me. Up close, her scent hit me, something like rain on hot stone mixed with smoke and something else, something sweet and dark I couldn't name. "I am Zerathia," she said, matriarch of the Stonewing clan, last mother of the Skyborn, guardian of the Threshold, and you are human, fragile, dying even now from cold and fear. She reached out and touched my face with one clawed finger, impossibly gentle. "But you do not have to die." Before I could respond, she stood and gestured for me to follow. I struggled to my feet, my whole body shaking, and followed her through massive doors into the castle. Inside was no warmer than outside. The halls were carved from the same black stone, lit by torches that burned with blue-white flame and gave off no smoke. Every surface was decorated with more gargoyles, smaller ones, watching from alcoves and perches, and I realized with creeping horror that some of them were moving, just slightly, heads turning to track my passage, eyes opening to stare. "They are curious," Zerathia said without looking back. "We have not had a human here in 3 generations." We climbed stairs and descended corridors, passing through chambers that defied physics, rooms where the ceiling was also the floor, halls that curved in impossible directions, and everywhere that sense of being watched by stone eyes. Finally, we entered what must have been her throne room. It was circular and vast, the walls lined with massive statues of gargoyles in various poses of flight and battle. In the center sat a throne carved from a single piece of obsidian, and behind it, a massive window opened onto the night sky. Zerathia settled onto her throne with the grace of a queen and the weight of mountains. I stood before her feeling very small and very mortal. "Do you know why I saved you?" she asked. I shook my head, not trusting my voice. "Because you were falling," she said again, and this time there was something else in her tone, something almost sad. "And I know what it is to fall, but also because I need you." The fire in her eyes brightened. "My people are dying. The Stonewing clan was once legion, thousands upon thousands of us filling these skies, building these cities in the clouds, living according to the old pacts and the ancient ways. Now we are fewer than 100. Our young are not born, or they are born twisted, incomplete, unable to fly or speak or survive past their first season. Our bloodline is failing. The stone in our veins grows brittle. We are the last of our kind, and soon we will be only statues, only memory." She leaned forward and her intensity was almost physical. "Our seers have dreamed the answer. A child born of stone and flesh, of sky and earth, of our blood mixed with human essence. A bridge between what we were and what we must become. You will give me this child." It took a moment for her words to penetrate. When they did, I actually laughed, a short, bitter sound that echoed in the vast chamber. "That's impossible," I said. "We're different species. It can't work that way." "It can," she said flatly. "It has before in the deep past, when the walls between worlds were thinner. Human and Stonewing, mortal and eternal. Your kind and mine have joined before and created wonders. Our oldest legends speak of such unions. Our magic remembers, even if our flesh has forgotten." She stood and descended from her throne, moving toward me with measured steps. "I will not force you. That is not our way, but I will convince you. You will stay here as my guest, my companion, and you will learn our ways. You will see what we are, what we have been, what we might yet become. And when you understand, when you truly see, you will choose to help us. You will choose to give me a child." I backed away, but there was nowhere to go. "And if I refuse, if I choose to leave," her smile was sad and terrifying, "then you will fall again. And this time, there will be no one to catch you." She turned and gestured to a doorway I hadn't noticed before. "Your chambers are prepared. Food, warmth, clothing that fits your form. Rest. Tomorrow, your education begins." I wanted to argue, to demand answers, to insist on my freedom, but what could I do? I was trapped in a castle in the clouds with a desperate queen of monsters who wanted to use my body to save her dying race. I was so far beyond my depth I couldn't even see the surface anymore. So I went to my chambers. They were surprisingly comfortable, a circular room with a bed piled high with furs, a fireplace where blue flames danced without consuming their fuel, and windows that looked out onto impossible vistas of cloud and stars. I collapsed onto the bed and lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to process everything, trying to convince myself this was a dream or a hallucination brought on by hitting my head during the fall. But the stone beneath me was too real, the cold too present, the ache in my ribs where her claws had gripped me too specific. This was happening. This was real, and I had no idea what to do about it. I must have slept eventually because I woke to find pale light filtering through the windows and someone standing beside my bed. Not Zerathia, but another gargoyle, smaller, more slender, with skin the color of dark copper and horns that spiraled like a ram's. Her eyes were silver, and held none of the intensity of the matriarchs, only curiosity. "I am Nyx," she said in a voice like wind through caves. "The matriarch has commanded I serve as your guide and teacher. Come, there is much to see." I followed her in a daze, still wearing the strange clothes someone had left for me while I slept. Soft leather and dark fabric that fit perfectly despite no one having measured me. Nyx led me through the castle, chattering constantly in that strange, echoing voice, pointing out features and explaining things I only half understood. The castle was called Gravenspire, and it was not simply built on the mountain but grown from it, carved and shaped over centuries by claws and magic and sheer obsessive craft. Every gargoyle in the clan had contributed, adding rooms and halls and towers according to their nature and gifts. Some areas were so beautiful they made my chest ache, all flowing lines and crystalline structures that caught light and threw rainbows across stone. Other sections were brutal and functional, barrack and training armories filled with weapons designed to tear flesh. We passed other gargoyles throughout the day, and each one stopped to stare at me. Some looked curious, others hostile, a few something I couldn't. Nyx explained the clan structure. At the top was Zerathia, the matriarch, oldest and strongest, keeper of the old magics and guardian of the clan's soul. Below her were the warriors, massive males with skin like granite and wings that could generate thunder when they flew. Then the builders, the crafters, the hunters, each cast with its own role and purpose. And at the bottom, dying slowly, were the younglings, the few children born in recent decades who survived. Nyx took me to see them, and I wished she hadn't. They were kept in a special chamber, warm and filled with soft light, and they were heartbreaking. Some were barely formed, more stone than flesh, unable to move or speak. Others looked almost normal, but their wings were malformed, twisted things that would never carry weight. A few seemed healthy, but Nyx explained they had other problems, internal weaknesses, organs that didn't function properly, minds that never fully woke. "This is what we are becoming," Nyx said quietly. "This is extinction wearing the face of children. The matriarch has watched 3 generations fail. She will not watch a 4th. Over the following days and weeks, I couldn't track time properly in this place, where the sun never quite rose normally. I learned more than I wanted to know about the Stonewing clan. I learned their history, how they had once been servants of elder gods who ruled the spaces between earth and sky, how they had won their freedom through rebellion and war, how they had built their civilization on the bones of their oppressors. I learned their magic, which was bound to stone and wind and the liminal spaces where different realities touched. I learned their language, harsh and musical all at once, words that hurt my throat to pronounce but carried meanings human languages couldn't express. And I learned about the decay. It had started slowly, centuries ago, a gradual weakening that no one noticed until it was too late. Fewer births, more deaths. Young gargoyles who never learned to fly or whose stone skin cracked and crumbled before they reached maturity. The clan had tried everything, ancient rituals and new magics, sacrifices and prayers and desperate experiments. Nothing worked. They were dying and they knew it, and that knowledge made them dangerous in ways I was only beginning to understand. Zerathia summoned me regularly, sometimes every day, sometimes with days between. We would sit in her throne room or walk the battlements or fly together, her carrying me as she soared through clouds and stars, and she would talk. She told me about her long life, about watching the world below change and grow while her own people withered. She told me about the children she had born, 11 in total, and how 8 had died before their 10th year, while the other 3 lived, but could bear no young of their own. She told me about the prophecy the seers had brought her, the vision of a child with stone bones and human blood who would be the seed of a new generation, a hybrid line that could survive where pure gargoyles could not. "I know what I am asking of you," she said one night, as we stood on a balcony watching distant lightning paint the clouds. "I know it is beyond strange, beyond uncomfortable. You think of me as a monster, and yourself as a prisoner, and perhaps both are true. But I am also a mother watching her children die, and a queen watching her kingdom crumble. Desperation makes us all into things we never wished to be. I wanted to hate her. I tried to hate her. But the more time I spent in this place, the more I saw the slow dying happening all around me, the more I understood her desperation. And there was something else, something I didn't want to acknowledge. I was drawn to her. Not just in the obvious way, though her physical presence was overwhelming, all power and danger and otherworldly beauty. But on some deeper level, I felt connected to her, as if by saving me, she had created a bond I couldn't break, even if I wanted to. I caught myself watching her move through the castle, the way other gargoyles deferred to her, the weight of responsibility she carried in every gesture. I caught myself looking forward to our conversations, the way she spoke about complex ideas in simple terms, her surprising humor, the rare moments when her guard came down and I saw not a desperate queen, but a person, lonely and afraid, and trying so hard to be strong for everyone who depended on her. One evening, Nyx found me standing alone on a tower watching the sun set over an ocean of clouds. "You care for her," she said. It wasn't a question. "I don't know what I feel," I admitted. "How can I? This whole situation is insane." "Perhaps," Nyx said. "But insanity is sometimes just reality wearing an unfamiliar face. The matriarch cares for you as well. She tries to hide it, thinks it weakness to feel affection for the tool she must use, but I have known her for 90 cycles, and I see the way she looks at you. She sees more than a solution to her problem. She sees a person. That is rare for her." Before I could respond, she spread her wings and dove off the tower, leaving me alone with thoughts I wasn't ready to examine. The turning point came during the Festival of Stones, an annual celebration of the clan's founding. The entire castle transformed, filled with music that sounded like crystal chimes and thunder drums, decorated with banners that glowed with bioluminescent symbols, and crowded with gargoyles dressed in their finest armor and jewels. I was given a place of honor beside Zerathia's throne, which made me deeply uncomfortable given the hostile stares from some of the warriors. The festival included demonstrations of flight, aerial combat that was more dance than fight, artistic displays of magic that shaped stone and wind into temporary sculptures, and storytelling where elders recounted the great legends of their people. One story in particular caught my attention. It was about the time of joining, an ancient era when the boundaries between species were fluid, when gargoyles and humans and other races mixed freely and produced children who embodied the strengths of all their lineages. The story claimed these hybrid children had been powerful beyond measure, capable of magics neither parent race could achieve alone, and had gone on to become leaders and heroes and legends in their own right. But something had happened. Some great catastrophe the story didn't detail, and the boundaries had hardened. The mixing had stopped, and the hybrid children had faded into myth. "That is the world I would build again," Zerathia said softly beside me. "Not through conquest or force, but through genuine union. A world where difference is celebrated, where my people and yours can once again create something greater than either alone." She turned to look at me, and the fire in her eyes was banked, but not extinguished. "I am asking you to be the first, the one who steps across that boundary again after so many centuries of separation. I am asking you to trust me, to trust in the possibility that this can work, that together we can create not just a child, but a future." The music swelled around us, gargoyles spinning through the air in complex patterns, and I felt something shift inside me. Maybe it was the beauty of the moment. Maybe it was the weeks of isolation and strangeness wearing down my resistance. Maybe it was something deeper, some recognition that my old life was gone regardless, and here at least I could mean something, could matter in a way I never had before. "What would happen to me after?" I asked. "If I agreed, if this worked, what would become of me?" "You would be honored as the father of our future," she said, "given a place in our society, protection, respect. You would never want for anything. And if you wished to return to your world after, once the child was grown enough to survive without you, we would find a way. I swear this on the stones of my throne and the bones of my ancestors." I looked at her, really looked at her, past the inhuman features and the desperate intensity, and saw someone not so different from me. Someone afraid of dying alone, of being forgotten, of having their existence mean nothing in the end. Someone trying so hard to save the people they loved that they would make deals with strange powers and risk everything on an impossible dream. "I need time," I said. "I need to think about this, really think, without pressure or persuasion. Can you give me that?" She nodded slowly. "Take what time you need, but not forever. My people do not have forever." The next few days I spent largely alone, walking the castle, standing on balconies staring at clouds, trying to work through the tangled mess of thoughts and feelings in my head. I thought about my old life, the one I had fallen from literally and figuratively, the job I hated, the apartment I could barely afford, the string of failed relationships and abandoned dreams. The slow realization that I was drifting through life without purpose or passion or any real sense that my existence mattered to anyone, including myself. Then I thought about this place, this impossible castle in the clouds, and the people monsters, whatever, who lived here. They were dying, but they were trying so hard not to. They had purpose, community, thousands of years of history and culture. They had faced extinction before and survived. They were fighters, and they wanted me, specifically me, to be part of their survival. Me, the guy who couldn't keep a relationship going for 6 months, who had never accomplished anything noteworthy, who had been one bad day away from jumping off that bridge before physics made the choice for me. They wanted me to be the father of their future. It was terrifying. It was insane. It was also the first time in my life anyone had needed me for something that actually mattered. On the 7th day, I went to Zarathia's chambers. She was standing by her window, wings slightly spread, silhouetted against stars. She didn't turn when I entered, but I knew she was aware of me. "I have questions," I said. "Before I decide, I need answers. Ask, this child, assuming it's possible, what would they be? What would their life be like?" She turned to face me. "I do not know. There are no texts, no records of how such a union manifests. They would be unique, unprecedented. But I believe they would be magnificent. The strength of stone and the adaptability of flesh, the magic of my kind and the creativity of yours. They would be able to walk in both worlds, belong to both peoples. They would be a bridge. And if they're not, if they're born like those children I saw, broken and suffering," her expression hardened, "then I will do what any mother does. I will love them and care for them and give them the best life possible for however long they live." But I do not believe that will happen. The seers have seen this child, not in detail but in outline. They survive, they thrive, they are the beginning of something new. I moved closer to the window, stood beside her looking out at the infinite sky. "Why me specifically? Was it really just chance that you were there when I fell?" She was quiet. "Our seers see in dream, not clear prediction." They saw a man falling, a human who stood at the boundary between life and death, whose existence in his own world had reached a breaking point. They saw that he would be open, whether through desperation or wisdom, to a different path. I was told to watch the bridge, that someone would fall who needed to be caught. I waited 3 nights before you appeared. Perhaps it was fate. Perhaps it was simply that your world creates so many people standing at that boundary that one was bound to fall eventually. Does the reason matter? I suppose not. I took a deep breath. If I do this, if I agree, I need something in return beyond just safety and respect. She turned to face me fully. Name it. Teach me. Everything you know. Everything your people know. Magic, history, combat, art, all of it. Make me truly part of this place. Not just a tool you're using, but a member of the clan. And when the child is born, let me be an actual father, involved in their life, teaching them about both halves of their heritage. Don't make me a stranger to my own child. Something shifted in her expression, a softening I hadn't seen before. That is what you want? Not treasure or power, or guaranteed return to your world, but to belong here, to be family, rather than resource? Yes. Her smile was slow and genuine and beautiful. Then you have your answer, and I have mine. Welcome, father of the future, to the Stonewing clan. Welcome home. What followed was a ceremony, ancient and strange, conducted by the clan's eldest members in a chamber deep in the mountain's heart, where the stone itself seemed to pulse with inner life. They carved symbols into my skin with obsidian knives, shallow cuts that burned like fire but healed quickly, leaving faint scars that glowed with the same light as Zarathia's markings. They made me drink something that tasted like liquid stone and fire, and made my whole body feel strange, heavy and light at the same time, as if I was becoming more real and less real simultaneously. They chanted in their ancient language, words I didn't understand but felt in my bones, and Zarathia stood before me with her hands on my shoulders and her forehead pressed to mine, and spoke an oath that bound her to protect me and mine to honor her and both of us to the child we would create. When it was over, I felt different. Not physically, though my body did feel strange, but in some fundamental way I can't describe. as if I had been disconnected and was now plugged in, part of something larger than myself. Zarathia led me from the ceremony chamber to her private quarters, rooms I had never entered before. They were surprisingly simple, no throne or treasure, just a bed carved from dark stone and covered in soft furs, shelves lined with books and artifacts, and windows open to the night sky. We stood facing each other in that intimate space, and for the first time I saw uncertainty in her eyes. "I have led armies," she said quietly, "fought wars, killed enemies, ruled my people for centuries, but this I do not know how to do. I was young when I last lay with anyone, and it was with one of my own kind. I do not know your needs, your preferences. I do not wish to harm you or frighten you more than I already have." I realized she was nervous. This ancient warrior queen who could tear apart stone with her bare hands was nervous about being intimate with me. It made her suddenly, overwhelmingly real. "We figure it out together," I said. "Slowly, carefully, and we stop if either of us needs to." She nodded and reached out to touch my face with one clawed hand, so gentle it barely registered. Her skin was warm despite its stone texture, and when I covered her hand with mine, I felt the faint pulse beneath, slower than human but present, proof that she was alive and real and here. What happened next was private, something that belonged only to us, but I will say it was nothing like I expected, and everything I didn't know I needed. There was tenderness mixed with power, fear mixed with wonder, and an intensity that burned away all pretense and left only two people trying desperately to connect across an impossible divide. When it was over, we lay together in her bed, her wing draped over me like a blanket, and I felt more at peace than I had in years. "Thank you," she whispered, "for taking this leap, for trusting me, for giving my people hope. Thank you for catching me," I whispered back, in more ways than one. The following months were strange and dreamlike. I continued my education, learning to speak the gargoyle language fluently, to read their ancient texts, to understand their magic. I couldn't perform their spells, lacking the stone core they drew power from, but I could assist, channel energy, act as a bridge between their magic and the human world's more chaotic energies. I trained with the warriors, learning to fight with weapons designed for claws, and learning how to defend myself if I ever faced threats here, or if I ever returned to my world. I spent time with the crafters, watching them shape stone with tools and magic into works of functional art. And I spent time with Zarathia, sometimes in her bed, often just talking for hours about everything and nothing, learning each other in ways that went beyond the physical. She told me about her fears, how she lay awake sometimes wondering if she was leading her people towards salvation or simply prolonging their suffering. I told her about my past, the accumulation of small failures and abandoned dreams that had led me to that bridge. We were both broken in different ways, and somehow that made it easier to be honest with each other. I didn't see obvious signs of pregnancy for a long time, and I started to fear it hadn't worked, that the seers had been wrong, or that whatever magic was supposed to make this possible had failed. But Zarathia remained calm. "Gargoyle pregnancy is different," she explained. "Longer, slower, more connected to the cycles of stone and season. If it is taken, we will know within a turning of the moon." She was right. About 2 months after the ceremony, she called me to her chambers, and when I arrived, she was sitting on her bed, with one hand pressed to her belly, and an expression of wonder on her face. "Come," she said, "feel this." I sat beside her, and she guided my hand to her stomach. At first I felt nothing different, but then, there, a faint vibration, like distant thunder, or a heartbeat through stone. Something alive, something growing, something impossible becoming real. "It worked," I breathed. "We actually did it." Her smile was brilliant. "We did. The seers will confirm it, but I know. I have carried life before, and this feels different, stronger, more vital. This child will survive. I know it." The clan's reaction was explosive. Joy, fear, celebration, controversy, all mixed together. Some saw the pregnancy as salvation, proof that the prophecy was real, and the clan had a future. Others saw it as abomination, a dilution of pure Stonewing blood, a desperate mistake that would produce only a monster. There were arguments, fights that occasionally turned physical, and more than once I was confronted by hostile warriors who made it clear they thought I was a contamination. But Zarathia shut down all dissent with ruthless efficiency. She declared that any who opposed the child opposed her directly and would be exiled from the clan. Faced with losing their matriarch on top of everything else, the dissenters quieted, though their resentment didn't disappear. As Zarathia's pregnancy progressed, I watched her change in subtle ways. Her skin developed new patterns, flowing designs that seemed to incorporate elements of human anatomy alongside gargoyle symbology. Her eyes brightened, burned hotter, as if the life she carried fed her own fire. She became more protective, more fierce, but also more tender, sometimes spending hours just sitting with her hands on her belly, communing with the child growing inside her. 6 months into the pregnancy, the first complications appeared. Zarathia began having episodes where her stone skin would crack, thin fractures that appeared suddenly and leaked not blood, but something luminous and golden. The clan's healers worked frantically to stop these episodes, but nothing seemed to help. She was in constant pain, though she hid it well. "The child is too vital," one healer explained to me privately. "Too alive, growing too fast, demanding more energy than a normal gargoyle pregnancy. Her body is trying to accommodate, but the strain is immense. If this continues, she may not survive the birth." The thought of losing her, after everything, was unacceptable. I demanded to help, insisted there must be something I could do. The healers were skeptical, but eventually agreed to try a ritual where I would act as an energy source, feeding my life force into Zarathia to help sustain her and the child. It was dangerous, they warned. I could lose myself in the process, burn out my own vitality, die in her place. I did it anyway. The ritual required me to enter a trance state while connected to Zarathia through carved channels in the stone floor, complex geometric patterns that focused and directed energy. For hours I knelt there, feeling my strength drain away, flowing into her, and in return I felt echoes of what she was experiencing, the incredible weight of carrying a hybrid life, the way her body was being reshaped from the inside out, and underneath it all, the child itself, aware in some primal way, curious and vital and already so strong. When I finally emerged from the ritual, I was weak as a kitten, but Zarathia's cracks had healed, and she was glowing with renewed strength. She held me and whispered, "Thank you," over and over, and I understood that we were bound now in yet another way, that I had literally given her part of my life to sustain our child. We repeated the ritual several more times over the following months. Each time it took more from me, left me weaker, but I never hesitated. This was my child too, my chance to be part of something that mattered, and I would give everything to see them born healthy. Finally, after what the gargoyles measured as a full turning of the seasons, about 9 months in human time, but experienced differently in this place where time was fluid, the birth began. It lasted for 2 days of screaming and stone-cracking agony, during which I was largely useless except to hold Zarathia's hand and try not to get my fingers crushed when she gripped too hard during contractions. The entire clan gathered outside the birthing chamber, waiting in tense silence, and I could feel the weight of their hope and fear pressing down like a physical force. When the child finally emerged, slick and screaming and absolutely impossible, the healer who caught them let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. "Alive," she said, "breathing, moving, perfect. The child is perfect." Zarathia collapsed back against her bed, exhausted beyond measure, but her eyes were fixed on the bundle the healer was cleaning and wrapping. "Let me see," she demanded. "Let me see them." The healer brought the child over and placed them in Zarathia's arms, and I got my first clear look at what we had created. They were small, barely the size of a human newborn, with skin that shifted color between flesh pink and stone gray as if uncertain which to be. They had tiny wings, folded against their back, translucent membranes stretched over delicate bones. Their eyes, when they opened, were gold like their mother's, but the pupils were round like mine. They had small nubs on their forehead, where horns would eventually grow, and when they grasped at Zarathia's finger, their tiny hands had soft nails that might become claws, or might stay human. They were both and neither, something entirely new, and they were beautiful. "What should we name them?" Zarathia asked, looking at me with tears on her stone cheeks. I thought about it, about all the impossibilities that had led to this moment, about bridges and boundaries, and the courage to cross them. "Meridian," I said. "They are the bridge between worlds, the line where different realities meet." "Meridian," Zarathia smiled. Meridian. Yes, perfect. She looked down at our child, and I saw in her face something I had never seen before, complete and absolute peace. For this moment at least, the desperation was gone, replaced by simple joy. The clan celebrated for 3 days straight, a festival that put all previous ones to shame. Warriors danced in the sky, crafters created monuments, and even the dissenters seemed to put aside their objections in the face of new life, genuine hope for the first time in generations. Meridian was passed around carefully, examined by dozens of gargoyles who marveled at their hybrid nature, and each one came away looking a little less hopeless, a little more alive. But the peace didn't last. On the 4th day after Meridian's birth, a messenger arrived from the Southern Territories, flying fast and hard with news that made Zarathia's expression go cold. The Iron Scale clan has heard of the child, the messenger reported. They are calling it an abomination and demanding it be destroyed before it pollutes other bloodlines. They are gathering their forces and will be here within 3 risings of the sun. They mean war. The Iron Scale clan, I learned, were distant cousins of the Stonewings, another gargoyle lineage that had taken a different approach to their decline. Where the Stonewings sought new solutions, the Iron Scales had retreated into rigid tradition, convinced that their dying was punishment for abandoning the old ways. They saw Meridian as the ultimate betrayal, proof that the Stonewings had fallen completely from grace. How many are they? Zarathia asked, her voice tight. 200 warriors, maybe more. They have allied with the Smokeclaw and Cinderwing clans. Together they outnumber us 3-1. The throne room fell silent. Everyone knew what those numbers meant. The Stonewings were formidable fighters, but they couldn't stand against those odds, not while defending their home and protecting a newborn. Then we evacuate, Zarathia said. Take the elders and younglings to the deep warrens, collapse the entrances behind us, and wait them out. They cannot sustain a siege long in these mountains. They will not need to, another warrior said grimly. They have brought siege breakers, ancient weapons from the War of Separation. They can crack this castle like an egg if we give them time to deploy. Zarathia stood, her wings spreading wide. Then, we give them no time. We strike first, hit them while they are still in formation. Break their will before they reach our walls. And if we cannot break them, we hold long enough for the child to be taken to safety. She looked at me. You will take Meridian and flee. Nyx will guide you to the old paths, routes through the mountains that lead back to the human world. You will return to your people and raise our child in safety. When they are grown, when they are strong enough, they can decide whether to return and claim their heritage. I wanted to argue, to insist on staying and fighting, but what could I do? I was one human with basic training against warrior gargoyles who had centuries of experience. I would just be a liability, a target Zarathia would have to protect while fighting for her own survival. The best thing I could do for her was save our child. I'll protect them, I promised. With my life, I swear it. She came to me and pressed her forehead against mine, a gesture of ultimate trust among her people. I know. That is why I trust you with the only thing that matters. Keep them safe. Tell them about us, about what we fought for, what we were, and tell them that they are not an abomination. They are hope incarnate. The next hours were a blur of preparation. Nyx gathered supplies while I was given weapons and supplies I barely knew how to use. Meridian was bundled in protective wrappings, still so tiny and vulnerable. Other clan members came to say goodbye, to press small gifts and trinkets into my hands, tokens to remember them by. Some were crying. They knew most of them wouldn't survive the coming battle. Zarathia walked with me to the secret passage that would lead down through the mountain's heart. We didn't speak much. What was there to say? Everything important had already been said, and what remained was too big for words. At the entrance, she held Meridian one last time, pressing her face against our child's tiny forehead, breathing in their scent. Then she handed them back to me, her hands shaking. I will buy you as much time as I can, she said. Days if possible. Use it well. Run far and fast and do not look back. What will you do? I asked. If you survive? Her smile was sad and tired. I do not think in terms of survival anymore, only in terms of how much damage I can inflict, how many of them I can take with me, how long I can hold this place before it falls. But if somehow I do survive, If somehow we win this impossible fight, I will come for you. I will find you wherever you are and meet my child again in a world that does not want to kill them for existing. That is the dream I will fight for." She kissed me then, fierce and desperate, and I tasted tears on her lips, stone dust and salt. When we parted, I saw the warrior queen again. The desperation returned, but channeled now into lethal focus. She would die defending our child if that's what it took, and she would take an army with her. Nyx touched my shoulder. "We must go. Now." And I took one last look at Zarathia, memorizing her face, the fierce beauty of her, the impossible reality that this creature of stone and storm had become the most important person in my world. Then I turned and followed Nyx into the darkness, carrying our child against my chest, feeling them breathe and move and exist. Proof that impossible things could happen, that boundaries could be crossed, that hope was real even when everything suggested otherwise. Behind us, I heard the sound of wings, hundreds of gargoyles taking to the sky as the Stonewing clan prepared for war. Ahead, darkness and uncertain paths and a journey I didn't know how to complete. And in my arms, Meridian, the bridge between worlds, sleeping peacefully, unaware that they were simultaneously the salvation of one people and the death sentence of their mother. We descended through passages carved before history, through chambers where strange fungi glowed with pale light, past underground rivers and chasms so deep I couldn't see their bottoms. Nyx moved with sure grace while I stumbled along, trying not to fall, trying not to think about what was happening above us, trying not to imagine Zarathia falling from the sky with enemy claws in her back. Days passed in the dark. Meridian woke occasionally to feed and cry, and I did my clumsy best to care for them. This impossible hybrid child who was learning to exist. Their skin was settling into a pattern, mostly flesh-colored, but with patches of stone gray at the shoulders and forearms where armor plates seemed to be forming. Their tiny wings were growing, filling out, becoming more solid. They were adapting, surviving, becoming whatever they were meant to be. We emerged from the mountains on the morning of the 5th day, stumbling out of a cave mouth onto a hillside overlooking forests I recognized. The human world, real and solid and mundane, stretching out below. Nyx couldn't come further. The air here was wrong for her, she explained. Too thick, too tainted with iron and oil and human civilization. She could survive for hours, but not days. "The matriarch gave you this," she said, pulling out a small stone carved with intricate symbols. "It is a beacon. When Meridian is grown, when they are ready, they need only break this stone and she will know, will come if she still lives. A bridge back to their heritage." She looked at the child in my arms with something like wonder. "Protect them. They are everything we hoped for and more. Proof that we were right to try, right to hope, right to believe in the possibility of change." Then she spread her wings and launched back into the sky, disappearing into clouds. And I was alone with my child in a world that wasn't ready for them, probably never would be ready for them, but would have to deal with them anyway. I started walking down the mountain toward the distant city lights, carrying Meridian and wondering how I was going to explain this to anyone. How I was going to raise a gargoyle-human hybrid in a world that barely believed in things beyond its immediate experience. How I was going to honor Zarathia's memory and her sacrifice and her desperate hope. I didn't have answers. All I had was one step forward, then another, and the absolute certainty that I would figure it out because failure wasn't an option. Meridian deserved better than a father who gave up when things got hard. They deserved a life, a chance, a future that wasn't defined by war and desperation. As I walked, I felt the stone beacon in my pocket, warm against my leg, and I wondered if I would ever break it, if Zarathia would ever come for us, if there would ever be a reunion, or if this was simply the end of one story and the beginning of another, separate and solitary. Above me, clouds gathered, and for a moment I thought I saw shapes moving in them, vast wings and falling bodies. But then the vision cleared, and there was only weather, only the indifferent sky. The battle was over, or still raging. I couldn't know. All I could do was keep walking, keep surviving, keep protecting the miracle in my arms. Meridian stirred against my chest and opened their eyes, gold with round pupils, looking up at me with innocent curiosity. They didn't know about war or dying clans or the impossible circumstances of their birth. They only knew they existed, that someone was holding them, that they were safe for now. I smiled down at them. My child, our child, the bridge between worlds. It's okay, I whispered. I've got you. And somewhere up there, your mother is fighting to make sure you have a future worth living. So we're going to honor that. We're going to survive. We're going to thrive. And someday, when you're ready, you're going to decide what comes next. For you, for me, for both our peoples. But not today. Today we just walk. I adjusted them more securely in my arms and kept moving, down the mountain, toward an uncertain future, carrying hope incarnate and wondering if the gargoyle queen of the clouds would ever see her child again, ever know if her desperate gamble had paid off, ever understand that she had given me more than just a purpose. She had given me a reason to believe that even the most broken people could create something beautiful if they were brave enough to try.